discussion about the Korean players because, the season's over. This is the time of year where everyone's making their lists about who has to stay, who's okay, who has to go. And you must be disheartened to see the 3 Korean guys' names often near the bottom of that list. What do you think's going to happen with any of them? And what should happen? Lewis, do you want to take that one?
For me, like, I can give you what I think will happen and then what I'd like to happen, because they're different questions. What I would like to happen generally would be, I think needs a lot more start time, which means I think it's not with Celtic. It would have to be on a loan. I think that would be the place where he could actually develop, whether that's in a League One or Championship side in England, or it's another Scottish Premiership side. I think he needs to be in front of the goal. I think a comparison that I think would be a bit unfortunate not to bring up is when we lost Kyogo when Giakoumakis came in. At the beginning, everyone was saying, nah, Giakoumakis isn't it. Like, he's not scoring these opportunities. But once he'd started to get enough minutes in the legs, he started to convert more opportunities, get more confident, get more comfortable in front of goal. And I think at the end of the season, Giakoumakis and Kyogo were tied for goals. So, is it a fair comparison? I think Giakoumakis was a brilliant player, but I think that O hasn't had the same sort of opportunity to get into the team the same way that Giakoumakis did, purely just out of bad luck. And I think that with enough playtime, he could become that. But a club the size of Celtic, you can't really rely on what ifs, right? You have to know what is the player for who they are, which is why I think that if he doesn't go on loan, it's looking like it will be his final season that we've seen at Celtic, which is unfortunate. Because I think there is potential there, but as I said, as a club like Celtic, you don't win leagues with potential. You win leagues with having the best squad in Scotland. End of story. For Yang, Yang's a similar story, but I think he's young enough, and I don't think he demands as high of a pay as someone like O might be able to in Scotland, where we could potentially say, right, loan him to, an Aberdeen or something, give him the sort of the Ryan Christie treatment that we had before, and then a couple of seasons away, see how he goes, and then he could convert, because I think he has like a lot of nervous energy, if that makes sense. Yeah, he's too he's too quick off it. He doesn't have that sort of like game IQ sort of intelligence yet. He has a lot of the attributes in terms of pace, but his decision making's a lot lacking, and I think that's something that could be tuned with more game time, potentially at like a lower level club. And then for Kwon, I don't think we've seen enough of anything to justify kind of keeping him. It's like he had a loan at St Mirren. It's like if you're coming from Celtic to St Mirren, you need to light up the show, right? You need to prove why you're a Celtic player on loan and not why you're just St Mirren standard. And I don't think he's excelled enough to justify continuing a sort of long-term project there, which is unfortunate.
Dano's a big fan of Kwon.
I am, man. I am. I love that player. He's just got so much potential, man. Even if you had to loan him out for another year, I mean, it's not surprising he didn't light it up. But I think there's a player there. But we just bought him too young. I don't know. But same with all these guys. I think they need to be given some more time on the pitch to really.
I agree with that. But yeah, it's like we're not Aberdeen, we're not Hibs, we're Celtic. We're champions of Scotland, and we're champions for a reason. And the reason is that we pick the best players, and if you aren't, like, the shirt doesn't shrink to fit lesser players. It's like
right.
Hey, did you just make that up? That's amazing. Wow.
Completely off the cuff.
All right, well, look, we'll give the last word to Seoul CSC, El Presidente himself. What are your hopes for the current crop of Korean players?
The current Korean players is totally different recruits from the one from Japan, because like when it comes to Japanese players, they are top players from the league. Like, for example, the Kyogo is the one I saw his in flash. I saw his last goal before joining Celtic, like a Vissel Kobe versus Suwon Blue Wings in Suwon. And they are top players, but the Korean players, all three of them, are more like the young prospects from the league. So I thought it was more like a long-term projects. But the problem was like that we've changed all the philosophies of the club, because before the Rodgers era, when it comes to Ange Postecoglou, he understands how the young players coming onto the squad. But nowadays, the Rodgers is more about like how he just put the maximum outputs on the field from the players. Like imagine back in the days, his first tenure, we were more with the older players like a Sinclair and the Stockses and such. So in the same sense, I'm totally with what Louis said, and also that's what the Korean fans who just are looking at the Korean trios at Celtic, because they feel they underestimated the Scottish League, but in the same sense, they now understand what it is like to be in the Celtic, and it's the top club. So they don't, we can't give up much time for potentials. You need to prove yourself right away from the first point of the pitch. So I think it's the same sense of what Louis said. They need to go out loan, or otherwise they have no chances to play elsewhere. But if we can just force them really well, then I think they could be a jewel. But it's life. You never know. It's like what things coming in the middle of the course. So all I can wish is Celtic could get a great chances to get a potential out of them as soon as possible. So once we got them, it would be great. Maybe the first generation Asian players could be Japanese, and the second generation could be from Korea, all three of them, and maybe someone else, third generation is coming in.